Hey, how's it going, guys? Ancient Rune here, back with another Borderlands 3 build video, and today I'll be going over my crit Zane build named Crit Commander. This build was made by myself and Joe Furlong as the generic crit Zane build, with going barrier, manufacturer crit, and guns that have critting synergies, as well as guns that benefit from said manufacturer crit. Zane has hundreds of crit damage available to him, making him the strongest vault hunter for a crit build. Unlike Cryo Zane, this build does not rely as much on using cryo weapons, so any element will do the trick, making farming weapons for this build a lot easier. Don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel. The save file will be found in my Discord, which is linked down below, and I hope you guys enjoy. Alright, and for the gear here, we have a lot of different guns here. I really love the OPQ system on this build, not because it's the best gun, but just because I don't use it that much on many builds, so it's nice to use it and it's just very relaxing. I also like the multi-tap here. It's also really good and helps with having Atlas crit damage and then Atlas Company Man just having the same manufacturers. So usually when I play, I'll have either a Company Man or Icebreaker Vic Rush. You also have the crit, which of course you need on a crit build. It has 150% card crit damage and it is just insanely good. You also have a hail, which can come in any element, where the crit only comes in shock, but that's no problem because it still deals insane damage. I have the free radical for just fight for your life damage. You can use URAD or consec hits. Consec hits is good because you don't have as much gun damage on fight for your life, so it's a good plus. And then some other stuff we have are Chaosin, Redistributor, Smog, I love, the Bloodstar Beast, the Lucian's Call. No Pew Pew doesn't have any manufacturer kit, but it feels really good on this build, so I really like it. We have the Becca. I used a little bit of Super Shred Fire. I didn't like it that much, but it's alright. It's a mediocre gun. Convergence. Rowan's Call is really good on this build, by the way. The ricochets do splash and has really high base damage. The Convergence is great. The Butcher is always an amazing gun. We have the Sandhawk. I like to use that with semi-auto. Just fun sniping heads up and exploding everything. And then for bossing, it's good to have a kick charger or back burner. This is for bosses that you can't really crit. Just element match to whatever you can. And then mainly I like to go next to max cryo because the executor boosts cryo damage, so it's just a nice little bump there. But you could go corrosive or just anything you need. Fire, radiation, really just anything good. You could also go barrier crit, but you won't always have good uptime on it, and in general it's not as good as next to max. My Cryo Zane does use it, but it's more because I have it up all the time and I just wanted something interesting and different. And then for the shield, we go Revolter. You can use Recharge or Vagabond parts or Absorb. I like using Recharge, it's better for survivability. And then you want to use it with Action Skill Start Recharge. This will be for activating your Revolter instantly, and pretty much what you usually want for Revolter. There are some fun stuff, as you'll see in my builds, where we don't go that, but usually for gun builds, I'll go Action Skill Start, or I'll use some Infiltrator stuff. Then we go in It's Piss. I do have it, so I can drop a grenade from Duct Tape mod, so that's why It's Piss is here. You could use a Mesmer Hex. It doesn't really matter too much since it's barely throwing it, but since it can be thrown, use It's Piss, or you could just use any grenade. I use ASC Radiation for the red explosions. We are critting a lot, which means we do get hollow points, so red explosions aren't as needed, but it's still really good, and you could also go corrosive or just any element you need. And then I like to use the Executor a lot. It's my favorite class mod, but the other class mod that's really good is the Spy. That is from the Arms Race DLC. It is more of a pain to farm, so that's why I really like to go Executor more. But the Spy gets a point in Arm and Flint, which means we get more V2 damage. We also can get crit damage and consistent gun damage and cooldown from Hedgeman's Hand and Commitment. So if you find a good one, definitely go for it. For Executor, we go at least 2 points in Violent Violence, and then just organize skill points how you can, with Playing Dirty and Good Misfortune. Pretty much just all three of these. I like to try and go 5, 7, and then 3 here. Just 3 for barrier, which I'll go over more in the skill tree, but this is around what I like to have here based on whatever is getting skill points here. But any skills on here are good. Focus on the passive. And for the passives, I'd mainly focus on splash damage radius and weapon type. That is V2 damage, which we don't have too much of. We do have it from Arm and Flint, but that is really it here. If you do go a Icebreaker, that's V2 damage, but normally I like to go Company Man. And then you want to go Manufacturer, crit damage, or regular crit damage. You could also go splash damage. And we go splash damage radius, that's for the hollow points and the red explosions, so we bigger, which is better for mobbing. And this is a big way how it can help compete with running gun, shooting everywhere, mobbing, is the hollow points. The explosions are huge and they'll just kill mobs everywhere. And then I also have an antifreeze on here. This is really for bossing, antifreeze or a infiltrator. You could also throw in a hustler with some good eraser weapons, since we do have eraser. Just anything for bossing is good to have as a spare class mod if needed. Mainly for Wotan is where I have the problems, but anywhere else I'm mainly good if I can crit there. I haven't really had any problems. And then for the class mod, generally you want to go with a Company Man, as you'll get manufacturer specific stuff with crit damage, fire rate, damage, mag size, reload speed. I mainly focus on getting crit damage and fire rate. Specifically crit damage, I mean fire rate, mag size, damage are all really good. I like the damage because it's consistent and good for fight for your life. If you go down, you don't get as much violent momentum bonus, so that consistent gun damage is there. And same with the fire rate and crit damage, it's all consistent. You want to go with AoE mainly and mag size. Anything else is good. I have the cryo bonus to go with my next 2 mags, or if I'm using any cryo guns. Any elemental damage is good. Movement speed, action skill cooldown. Weapon type cannot roll on a Company Man, unfortunately, but it's still worth it because of all the other bonuses. And then I have a toboggan. This is purely for bossing with those launchers. You want AoE damage in 2nd or 3rd slot, and then you want the heavy weapon damage. The Atlas Company Man, how it works is all the passive slots are secondary, where other artifacts will have 1 primary and 2 secondaries going down in order. So any slot where AoE is on the Company Man, that'll work, where on these other ones you'll want it on the 2nd or 3rd slot. And then we have the Icebreaker Vic Rush. This will give V2 damage from cryoing enemies, and then the V1 from killing a badass. We do have a consistent way of cryoing enemies, one from going Colder Shoulder and Arm and Flint, but also by going Brain Freeze, so we'll be cryoing enemies whenever we're critting them enough, making it a very good skill. And then if you use cryo weapons, it also synergizes really well. You want to go with mag size and AoE, and then either elemental damage or weapon type. Move speed and action skill cooldown is really good, but another huge bonus of using like a Victory Rush is that you can get that weapon type or elemental damage. Mainly the weapon type, but I like to use this roll if I'm just going to use a bunch of weapons with no specific manufacturer. Got that cryo damage consistent, mag size, area effect consistent. Or if I go like pistol damage, then I feel more locked into pistols. Even though you're not, but it's like you're not getting bonuses when you're using an assault rifle. And then Pearl is here. It's not good, but it's a starting artifact. Pretty much any gun Zane build can technically use this, but pretty much the basics. It's not something you should look for, but if you have one, it'll work until you get this better stuff, and then it'll be outclassed. The basic gun damage is that 90% is regular gun damage, and then that 15% is a pure mult damage, but it's not that worth it on Zane, where you are losing out on like area of effect because Zane doesn't have splash damage anywhere. Cryo elemental damage is also missed out on, and weapon type And then I also forgot to mention, if you do use any splash guns that can roll AC splash, you should definitely use that. None of these weapons I have do roll AC splash, but if you were to like just use a free radical for mobbing, AC splash would definitely be a lot more worth it. And then for the skill tree, we'll start with blue tree. Very basic. We go violent momentum, violent speed. We go cool hand for the reload speed. We go the salvation, only need 1 point for the 3% lifesteal, because we're dealing millions of damage with what, 45k health. 3% will be fine. We have seeing red to activate our kill skills. And I'm gonna actually take off my class mod real quick just to show what I have. I have 3 points in violent violence, 4 in playing dirty, Rig of Misfortune. I like to have at least getting that 7 to playing dirty to have that 98% chance. So anytime you get a kill or activate your Mantis Cannon, you're guaranteed to get those 5 extra shots. Will get a projectile, which is just really good. And then I want to go 3 points. I don't go any more, even though you could technically. And then I want that 2 points in violent violence to go up, and so it just makes sense to have less of this, especially when we have fire rate from skills like domino effect, and you can get fire rate from company man or from your class mod. So just getting that extra projectile and the misfortune is so much better. And then we go death falls close for the kill skill bonus and duration. And then for red tree, we just go to duct tape mod. This is for the splash immunity, nothing special. No reason really to go farther on this build. We don't need supersonic man, since this isn't a speed focused build. It would help, but the other options are better. We go the prey immuneness for the mag size, and then more axe skill duration is good, where synchronicity is very low gun damage per point and additive with violent momentum, so it is not worth it at all. And then for green tree, we're just going down to barrier. I go ready for action to help get my shield back up. I don't need adrenaline since I have plenty of cooldown, and I have topped off going off all the time, so having our shield get back up faster is more important. And then I go brain freeze for the crit for freezing enemies, for icebreaker, and just freezing them in general, instead of going like rise to the occasion for health regen, which is nice sometimes, but I don't use it since we're shooting a bunch, so we have plenty of lifesteal going on, so the health regen is a lot less needed. And then the only important thing to go for the augment for barrier is for the dome, so you're protected all around. This is in general wanted for barrier builds. You don't need it, but if you're using it as your survivability option, then you probably do want it. We go Mantis Cannon, as we always do, to activate kill skills, action skills, but it can also do some nice damage. We go all mana focus for the accuracy and handling, Headsman's Hand for crit damage, commitment for the gun damage and action skill cooldown, fugitive for shooting and spreading. We're still shooting and spreading even though we're hitting crits, we're just not going as fast, and you can even stand still sometimes. Then we go domino effect for the fire rate and reload speed, and then double that for the action skill, and you should still be aiming for crits with your Mantis Cannon since you can freeze enemies with it, and still do some good damage and definitely kill at least basic mobs. Eraser is just good in general, and since we're critting, you can line up shots. I like lining up shots in Fight for Your Life especially. It just helps getting those kills when you're down if you don't have the best Fight for Your Life damage. And then we go 1 point in Sheer Will. This is just a dump point. The cooldown rate is nice for the barrier when it goes down, because it sometimes will go down, not too often, but sometimes it can mid-combat, or if you go down, you'll want that cooldown back, because barrier goes away when you go down. And then we go Arm and Flint for the V2 damage. It'll also auto-freeze enemies if you're using a cryo gun, so that is really good there. You can also technically use a radiation gun for crazy rad explosions, but it's not really needed here. And then we have Colder Shoulder to freeze enemies when we aim down sights and crit. And then we have proliferation just for more charges, just for activating Mantis Cannon more often. And this technically does help Mantis Cannon do a little bit more damage. I hope you guys enjoyed the build video. I wasn't sure if I was going to make this a build video, but I thought it'd be good for those who want a crit Zane build, which is different from the regular running gun, but don't want to go as in depth as Cook a Cryo Zane. I much prefer Cook a Cryo Zane, but is also more exclusive with gear and focuses more on action skills and guns rather than just guns. Although your Mantis Cannon can still do plenty of damage on this build. Again, you can find the save file in my Discord, which is linked down below, as well as my other socials. If you haven't, I would really appreciate it if you would like and subscribe, and I will see you guys next time. Peace.